In this video, we are going to talk about one of the most important and critical things that has ever happened in the entire life of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. This executive order can determine the future outcome of crypto in America, which is by far the largest financial institution and hub in the world. All right, guys, if you're excited to hear more about this, make sure that you like and subscribe, and let's dive into it. What is this executive order that Biden will be signing into? So, according to Reuters, it says President Biden is reportedly set to sign an executive order on cryptocurrency this week that will direct several federal agencies to investigate and develop policies and regulation on digital currencies. The order is likely to be signed Wednesday, according to Reuters, and the White House's first step toward regulating cryptocurrency. It will reportedly outline what federal agencies, including the Treasury, State, and Commerce departments, need to develop regulations and policies on the cryptocurrency market, according to the Associated Press. The order will ask the State Department to make sure that American cryptocurrency laws align with those of the U.S. allies, the AP reported. It will also reportedly task the Financial Stability Oversight Council, which identifies the risks to the country's financial stability, to investigate any financial concerns, and it will require the Justice Department to look into whether the new law is needed to create new currency, according to Reuters, with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and other agencies studying the consumer impact. The order comes amid concerns over whether Russia could use cryptocurrency to get around the crushing U.S. sanctions issued in response to the invasion of Ukraine. But we're going to break down exactly what that means and if this is bullish for cryptocurrency or bearish, and what you can expect in the short and medium term as a result of this bill coming into order. We have been waiting, and but when I say we, I mean the world has been waiting, because United States is a massive, massive market, and ETFs, for example, well, Canada was the first to implement a Bitcoin ETF. The US still hasn't, and there's so many countries around the world that have Bitcoin ETFs, but everyone keeps waiting for the United States to approve one. So the lack of regulatory clarity is really suppressing a boom within the United States to happen in the crypto markets. So overall, you would expect this bill to be bullish. However, there are some things that we'll talk about that could create a very bearish result of this executive order coming into effect. What exactly does the bill cover and what doesn't it cover? Well, basically the government is just asking these different regulatory bodies to do research on the cryptocurrency market and how it can affect different things within the economy, the financial stability of America. The nice thing is that they are actually taking a very sophisticated and educated approach to trying to regulate this market, which is a good thing, right? The worst case scenario would have been a blanket ban or very, very harsh, not well thought out regulation, like we've almost seen pass before, slid into things like the infrastructure bill that happened like 6 months ago or whatever, where they tried to slip some really shady language into that bill, which then subsequently was passed. However, we do think that will get overturned as it has like another, I don't know, a year or two before that actually comes into play. In these reports, we're going to see things like technical evaluation on what might be needed to support a central bank digital dollar. Now, this is something that is inevitable to happen, right? We're going to move away from physical cash. We already see China have a 5-year head start on America to create their central bank digital currency. And even though a central bank digital currency will use blockchain, it'll definitely be a permissioned and centralized blockchain. Now, central bank digital dollar is very, very important for the United States keeping up with the other countries who have already started doing this. Bahamas is doing it. Russia's been looking into it. We know that China is already pretty much there, so they've already demoed their central bank digital yuan at the Winter Olympics. So this is critical, and of course, you need to have a regulatory framework for that to happen. So the critical thing about this whole invasion of Ukraine was that people fear that Russia might be using cryptocurrency to get around sanctions. And so this has really lit a fire under the butt of regulatory bodies. And this is why we see Joe Biden now urgently coming to the table to place this executive order to at least start looking at how to regulate this industry. So they say that these bills are really to protect consumers, businesses, investors, and privacy issues concerning digital assets. However, we know that while there might be some hair of truth to this, we really know it's about controlling people's financial sovereignty, privacy, and taxation. This is what ultimately that they want to control, and then which governing body will be overseeing this kind of framework and how it's taxed and things like that. So basically, the executive order is expected to give these regulatory bodies 90 to 180 days to complete the study and submit it for review. So with all this being said, I don't expect us to have a clear regulatory framework anytime soon. Best case scenario might be 6 months, but more realistic scenario is probably a year from now. However, because of the sanctions and the pressure to make sure that that cryptocurrency isn't being used in a positive way by Russia, I would expect some of these things to be sorted out beforehand. And this is probably going to be something that doesn't affect the entire United States, probably more just like pressure to make sure that private centralized crypto companies are not allowing Russians to be using their framework at the current moment. So there's kind of a theory going around right now, because a lot of the oligarchs, the richest people in Russia, have been keeping their money in Swiss banks. And because of the sanctions put on Russia, that these really, really wealthy people who probably have a tremendous amount of power in Russia now cannot get their money out. And so we're also seeing things like spike in Monero, which is a privacy coin, but also some theory that Putin might face some severe pushback or even threats on his life because of the sanctions that are being imposed and not allowing the rich people of Russia to get their money out. Of course, all of this can be avoided if their funds were just in a decentralized cryptocurrency, and if they're using Monero, it would be all private transactions as well. So you can see why it is important for these frameworks to be developed. So really, just how important is this whole regulatory framework to the crypto market as a whole? Well, believe it or not, over 50% of the companies in the crypto industry call America their home. So it is a tremendous amount, and that's only about the existing crypto companies, not to talk about everyone who wants to get into crypto in America that has held out because of the lack of regulatory framework. So this is actually massively important for progression of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the world. This potentially could be even what we're waiting for to see a proper decoupling from the equities markets, right? Is really putting Bitcoin as a true store of value. Because even now, it's super difficult for someone like Michael Saylor and MicroStrategies to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. He said it took him 6 months and millions of dollars in legal fees to be able to figure out how to do it properly. But more of these conservative companies that would like to do that haven't yet done it because they don't have that regulatory clarity. That's when we can start to see a lot of positive market reactions, things like Bitcoin ETFs being passed, things like way more institutions being public about their purchasing and storing of Bitcoin on their balance sheets, and a lot more private investors buying in Bitcoin as a store of value as well. So while this is all extremely bullish news, I wouldn't get too excited just yet. And this is why I think that all in all, we really don't have any idea yet how this is going to play out. Some of the things that we could expect to be a big negative effect would be things like calling 99.5% of the cryptocurrencies out there all securities. Now, for the United States, what does that mean? That means anybody who wants to create a utility token, if they come out with something saying that, every cryptocurrency must be registered with the SEC, that is a huge barrier to entry. It's very expensive. It's very time consuming. They could potentially make the framework to where it's a much easier process. All we can do right now is hope that they understand how powerful this innovation and technology is and want to be on the forefront of the innovation and not be left behind like the United States has been so far. So while a lot of the things I said are highly based on my own speculation and opinion, there are a couple things that come directly from the horse's mouth, if you will, and I will go over those right now just to kind of back up what I've been saying. So there was a statement leaked from Janet Yellen that says a presidential executive order on cryptocurrencies would support responsible innovation as it coordinates US policy across agencies. So this is a leak coming from Yellen saying basically that the bill is expected to be positive for crypto regulation. And then we had Cameron Winklevoss from the Winklevi twins and Gemini Trust saying in a tweet, based on remarks from Janet Yellen, crypto executive order is positive and calls for coordinated and comprehensive approach to digital asset policy that will support responsible innovation. Now, Cameron and Tyler are always staying in tune with what's going on from a regulatory perspective. And so for them to come out publicly and talk about this executive order being a positive thing is obviously very positive. And to continue on that, Cameron said, I applaud this constructive approach to thoughtful crypto regulation and look forward to working together with various stakeholders to ensure that US remains a leader in crypto. So that's it, guys. That's going to wrap it up for the crypto executive order and Joe Biden that could be signed any minute. While this is super, super bullish and overall, we still have a little bit of reasons to remain skeptical. And let me know in the comments below what you think of this bill and if you think it's going to be a positive or negative thing. See you guys.